But we begin with new comments from President Biden on the war in Ukraine and his approach to dealing with Vladimir Putin following this week's deadly Russian airstrikes. Here's what he told Jake Tapper on CNN.
When I'm talking to Putin. He, in fact, cannot continue with impunity to talk about the use of a tactical nuclear weapon as if that's a rational thing to do. The mistakes get made, and the miscalculation could occur. No one can be sure what would happen, and it could end in Armageddon.
This comes after earlier remarks from the president suggesting we are closer to an Armageddon now than we have ever been, really than we've been in 60 years. Charlie D'Agata is in Ukraine for us, where tensions remain high. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning. Tense is the word. The Kremlin saying that President Biden's remarks are part of harmful and provocative Western nuclear rhetoric, while more air raid sirens rang out here and across the country, including the capital. Following days of Russian aerial bombardment on a scale unseen since the start of the war here, spreading not just destruction but terror across the country, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy implored the leaders of the G7 for help against aerial attacks. When Ukraine receives a sufficient quantity of modern and effective air defense systems, he said, the key element of Russia's terror, rocket strikes, will cease to work. An assault that has also seen the increasing use of these Iranian-made Shahed-36 kamikaze drones, shown here on Iranian state TV. The dramatic retaliatory escalation after the explosion that struck the Crimean Bridge coincided with Putin's promotion of a new hardline commander, Sergei Surovikin, formerly the commander of Russia's Air Force, known as General Armageddon, who gained notoriety for the ruthless campaign in Syria, flattening civilian areas while in charge of Russian forces in support of the Assad regime. Now in charge of turning the tide for Russian troops who are facing crushing defeats on the front line. This morning, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry announced the recapture of 5 more villages in Kherson, where we saw how Russian troops have been overwhelmed by Ukrainian tactics and firepower. Ukrainian forces don't want us to reveal their defensive position for obvious security reasons, but I can tell you we've seen well-armed soldiers dug in everywhere. Armored personnel carriers, tanks, heavy artillery, rocket launchers. It's not just about recapturing this territory, but holding it. Kherson was the first major city to fall to Russia in the initial invasion. A retreat from the strategic port city in the south would deliver the most humiliating defeat of the war. Not something Russia will give up without a fight or further retaliation. This morning, Russian intelligence services said 8 people have been arrested in connection with the blast on the bridge, accused of working with Ukrainian agents. Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the attack. Tony?
Charlie D'Agata for us once again in Ukraine. Charlie, thank you very much.